Welcome to the only brother-sister podcast built for teachers, by teachers, dumplings over flowers.
I'm the sister, Nicole.
And I'm the brother, Izzy.
And this podcast is here to take you on a backstage tour of our combined 50 years of experience teaching so that we can help you recognize and celebrate substance over appearance.
Or dumplings over flowers. Yeah. Well, Waterman, spin the wheel.
Well, here we are again at FETC in New Orleans. Now we're live, so to speak, on the showroom floor.
Yes. Welcome to the exhibit hall at FETC 2023.
Yeah, well, at least our corner of the exhibit hall.
Yeah, we don't have a booth here this year. Instead, we have our little podcasting space. And here it is.
Yeah.
It's not soundproof, but it's a space.
That's right. So, I guess we're going to get to it. We got to find out what the topic was. Waterman, what was the topic?
Iron Teacher America.
Iron Teacher America. Oh, my gosh.
Do you want to say it like we said it in the video?
I guess. Iron. Well, yeah.
I'll be the video.
Yeah. So we tried to superimpose voice over Iron Chef in video intro and make it cool. And I guess we needed Waterman really at that point.
No. It was super cool because it was so imperfect. And we then could see the people who really thought that was funny.
I love the idea of saying it's super cool because it was so imperfect. Then I must be the coolest guy in the world.
I'm selling t-shirts.
Yeah.
Iron Chef.
No, see, you already messed it up.
I'm the video.
Oh, you're the video.
You're you.
I'm me. Go.
Iron Chef America.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, you be the video, I'll be you. Iron
Chef
Teacher America. That's how it was, which is so great.
Oh, yeah.
So we made that video because we were doing an activity with a workshop, but the idea came from the Iron Chef, obviously the show, which I don't know that I've seen too many of those.
All rights reserved.
Yeah, thank you. We're very much, we would welcome you as a sponsor. We would eat on our show.
Yeah.
Any food out there. But the idea was that we were taking this TV show that was popular and using it for our purposes because we wanted to do a strategy.
Why did we do, like you did that? Why did you do that?
Well, we wanted to do a strategy and we were trying to think of a way to do it. And it's just something that I always do and something that I certainly talk about when I'm talking to pre-service teachers, new teachers, students, people thinking they're going to become a teacher. So many times we have these moments and these benchmarks or these signposts that say like, oh, well, here's your certification. Now you are a teacher. Here's your ID card for your school. Now you're a teacher. Here's your keys. Now you're a teacher. I don't believe in that, basically, in that concept. There's no real, come
Not to say those aren't cool little milestones, like the feeling of that.
No, or necessary. Like, obviously, we need to be certified and have the right,
I still have my
paperwork
pictures from picture day of all my first 10 years or so.
Too.
Yeah. So go on. Don't tell me I'm not a teacher.
Keep those in the safe. And especially don't show anybody your middle school.
Oh, I still have that in my wallet, too.
ID card with a goatee.
Oh, it's solid. Go on.
Anyway, I thought you lost that in your van with the bubble window on the
go
side.
on.
Okay. So I don't hate those things, and they're certainly necessary and always fun. Or some are fun, some are terrible. Like you haven't really you're not really a teacher until you cry in your car.
Yeah.
Those true. They're all true. But I don't think that that's what makes you a teacher.
Right.
I think that if you have decided that this is your purpose and this is who you are, we say that teaching is a lifestyle for great reason.
Right.
That process just kind of starts. You start to have a mindset shift. The process of shifting your mindset to adapt to that identity
Right.
starts as soon as, you let it.
You realize it is. Like I'm trying to think now about myself. I was inspired by my 9th grade teacher, Mr. Amato. Shout out to Mr. Amato if you're out there.
Again.
I love that guy. And if, what I did was I was able to see myself as him, right? So there was inspiration there. And then looking back, I could see like some of the traits and characteristics, like hoarding everything, anything in the house or
all of a
anything
sudden
outside.
every pocket has a expo
Something.
marker in it.
This could be used for. Is that what you're kind of?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was teaching methods courses and talking to my pre-service peeps who were just about to head out into student teaching, they were always like, well, when do I start to feel like I can do this? When do I start to agree that someone could trust me to make decisions? No, they were new and happy.
Oh, okay.
I said, right now, this is it. This is it. You're a teacher now. And with that comes a different perspective, a different approach to everyday things in your life. Like watching Iron Chef, you say to yourself, hey, that would be a really cool activity if we could get different ingredients for, something and put them all together and then get a curveball and then whatever.
True.
You're standing online at the checkout at the grocery store. You're looking at a tabloid. We're talking about fake news, whatever. There's so many ideas that you could just glean from everyday life. Not to mention, then you're like, this is about the size that I need to make individual whatevers for the kid.
Golden rectangle.
Thanks. That's exactly what I was going to say. I just couldn't get it out fast enough.
Your iPhone.
Yeah.
It all fits into
Matrix.
The golden ratio.
So you kind of take that, blue pill, red pill. You take the red pill, right?
So tell me about Iron Teacher America then. I know I was there, but a lot of times...
Not only were you there, you made the intro.
Well, right. But that was it. A lot of times when you take on something, I very wisely get out of the way because I can't really add to it too much. But so I remember we had the teachers doing what?
You definitely took that. You're the person who takes the ideas and...
Mathifies them?
That's exactly right. I say mathify this. How much time do we have? How many groups do we need? All the good stuff. So we were doing an activity in our workshops where we were having our teachers who were our participants have their teacher hats on, because sometimes we flip back and forth between being a student or being a teacher and feeling those moments.
Yeah.
But they had their teacher hats on, and we asked them to put together an activity. We were going through different strategies for engaging students in learning in collaboration with each other.
Yeah, I'll get back to that in a second. Remind me to talk about where that fits in our definition of rigorous instruction. Go on.
I will remind you.
Thanks.
Waterman will remind you.
I'll be right here. Go ahead.
So we were making this activity to see where, how teachers would use these different strategies, this bank of strategies that we gave them. So I said, wouldn't it be great if we had all of the different ingredients for an activity?
That's right. Yeah.
And they had to cook them together, like Iron Chef, and then we threw in. So the activity was, here's your bank of strategies. Here's a lesson objective. Here's the audience for that lesson. Like 8th graders, here's the time you have, 30 minutes, whatever.
Right.
Here's the learning standard. Here's an objective. Here's the audience. And it's up to you then to create an activity that students would do, a purpose, outcome, strategy, and time for an exploration activity. And then they could pick the strategy. They could pick the time. They could, choose the outcome. They could choose the process, all of that. And then about halfway through, maybe like 10 minutes in or something, we said, curveball like they do on Iron Chef. And we said, now you're doing the same thing, and in Iron Chef, they would say like, you can only use plastic spoons instead of knives or something, right?
Okay.
So we said, you can only use visual directions to explain it to your students. So they also had to make something visually to explain this activity and how to go through it and why and all that to their students.
Like a visual agenda as well.
Yeah, which was one of the best products that comes out of our workshops.
I could barely remember what we did with the strategy, but I totally remembered the visual agendas and direction, because people were using emojis and bitmojis and just as particularly I think a few years back when that was still the
right before everybody made Bitmoji classroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was really, really cool.
And we had some really awesome art teachers
Yes. Oh, that's right.
make some posters. And then those turned into anchors in the rooms.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're going to do this strategy. Here's the, 136. Here's the how to do it. It's a visual poster.
So when we talk
Wish
about...
we had that now.
Right.
Instead of this gray,
Waterman, do something.
vast
No,
grayness.
don't worry. It is what it is. So when we talk about rigorous and engaging instruction...
Hey, reminder.
Thanks. Yeah.
Talk about rigorous and what makes a lesson
Yeah.
or task rigorous and engaging.
Okay. So when we talk about rigorous and engaging instruction, we talk about lessons or tasks that cause students to make and internalize their own meaning, to explore multiple solution or opinion options, and that kind of fit into that Iron Chef moment, and then to apply their new understanding or their understanding in general to new and varied situations. And so I also think that gave the teachers, or could give the teachers, a way to kind of feel that turn in the road. Like, how many times as a primarily a math teacher, not to mathify this or anything, but as a math teacher, there was way too many times where the assessment was in a different context than the way it was taught.
Absolutely.
And so, one of my hallmark go-to statements, and hopefully, if it was said already on these podcasts,
I'm sure it was, whatever you're going to say.
It's more important that we consistently consider and hear these things. And that is that we're really trying to create lessons that do not try only to help students solve a question, problem, but to approach everyone, right? And so if that being the goal, then we need to attend to all these new and varied situations, but we can't attend to every.
You have said that before, but I think we should highlight the approach. Not teach students how to solve every problem.
Correct.
But how to approach thinking about, how to get into that problem or engage with it at least.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's worth highlighting. So 3 things that make a rigorous and engaging lesson.
Right.
We got number 1, that's to make and internalize your own meanings. Number 2 is to find multiple solution or opinion options so that you can see different pathways through the content.
Yeah.
And number 3
was to apply in new and varied situations. So, so the multiple opinion and pathways, right, allows you to practice that and persevere to find those pathways when the context changes. And so the idea of, let's go back to the Iron Chef now, because we just talked about students, right? And I don't think we really talk a lot about the planning process being a rigorous process. How would you think that off the top of your head now, because really that was the goal of that activity, an underlying goal was to kind of feel like, all right, well, maybe that agenda piece, and I think this is like, I'm dramatically pausing for a second. Maybe that visual agenda piece wasn't just for that activity and being a good idea, but I know, and I hope if some of you are out there that was involved in that workshop, I hope that I said then that we also need to consider how this lesson will impact different parts of our day. In other words,
I might tell you right now you didn't say that then.
I'm sorry. We might not need a visual agenda for every class period or for every student, but we may for some, right? And so it's not just the rigor of building a lesson is not just to consider and internalize the meaning of the content standard and what the expectations are, to explore multiple pathways for me to just distribute or teach this material, but it's also how do I apply it to the varied situations inside my class schedule.
That's very meta, but very true.
Huge. Waterman.
Good night.
Well, I needed an explosion.
You have to build up with a rumble. And there it is.
Right? So very meta, but I think we're onto something there.
You know,
I think I'm onto something there.
Man.
And pretty soon, if you listen long enough, it'll be Nicole's work.
You can read my new book.
Yeah, you're right.
Mind blown. How to add rigor to your classroom.
Yes. So, but let's go back and focus this in now and talk about that idea of not just finding good differentiation, whole group, small group, individual, process, content, product, but let's talk about how to consider choices in our planning, okay, as we're thinking about a specific activity and then diving a little deeper into its impact and effect class by class. Like, what are some of the things maybe you would do to consider some choices?
So,
What was that face?
because I'm thinking, that's my thinking face.
Jeez. All right.
Want to see it again?
Is that what I smell burning?
So as I'm planning, I'm gonna have to, especially if I'm doing something that is a little bit new, right? We've said before that you shouldn't introduce new content and a new strategy at the same time.
Yeah, I heard that.
So if I am, Abraham Lincoln said it.
Yeah.
Gandhi said it. If I'm thinking about teaching something new and I want to maybe give a choice to students or say like the way that you're going to approach this could be different.
Choice boards are great.
Right there, the choices are what really matters. And I'm keeping this kind of in the context of Iron Chef.
Yeah.
So if my third period class is a co-taught class, inclusion,
Right.
mixed population, special ed, general ed.
Sure.
My fourth period class is general ed, mainly. My fifth period class is an honors class. My sixth period class is a general ed class that just came back from lunch and gym right in a row.
So they smell and got
a
it.
dream come true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We call that the Izzy track.
Yeah, that-
Smelly,
See, that-
disgusting. No.
Nailed it. I went hard at PE, okay?
I always have, of course.
Right.
And I can appreciate that effort. I just don't want to smell it. Which is why, you should always have some body spray, room spray, deodorant spray, Axe spray. I'll take Axe over that smell.
All rights reserved.
Yeah. Not looking for a
Want to get Axe on the phone.
No. God, the post
Next
PTSD.
thing we're going to have Axe body spray. We're going to have an advertisement.
Yeah, baby.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go on table.
In that case, my go-to was Bath and Body Works sprays, obviously.
Clearly.
But kids would run in my room after gym. I wasn't their teacher. Just
Right.
run them out,
Yeah.
You're welcome. And you're welcome to your
I
teacher.
was going to say, the whole world is welcome.
Anyway, I'm planning something for those varied classes throughout my day. Of course, that's a rigorous process. And of course, I'm going to want to, okay, since your mind is already blown, I'm going to have to internalize the content for myself as a teacher, make my own meaning from it, and then look at the ways that I can make space, not only to provide moments for students to find multiple pathways, multiple solution steps, options, whatever, but for myself to participate in those with the students based on who they are. That's the real beauty of shared space teaching.
Okay.
So I may have already made the internalized meaning of, this article I'm reading about, I don't know, like academic integrity or whatever, right? Academic honesty, plagiarism.
Yeah.
And AI,
Yeah.
let's say.
Hot topic.
Hot topic. So can ChatGPT write my students' papers, right? That's what we're thinking about. My third period class might have a very different reaction to that because some of them might, in that special ed mixed class with my general ed students, some of them might have an IEP that says that they can use assistive technology.
Sure.
Where is that assistive technology now with AI?
Right.
That's a different conversation. I'm going to have to internalize that meaning in relation to how I go about approaching that with that specific class.
Yeah.
So in that way, that is shared space teaching because then I'm going to find my own multiple pathways, multiple solution or opinion options in that exploration time with my students.
Yeah.
And I'm going to repeat that process again with my honors kids. And I'm going to repeat that process in a different way with my sweaty, smelly Izzy kids. But it's always going to be evolving and emerging. But I, as the teacher now, have to anticipate what's going to evolve and emerge out of that exploration. So it's not just that I'm sitting there going, oh,
Right.
well, I can't wait to hear what Izzy has to say
So
about
that's
this.
the curveballs too. Like what emerges out of that becomes the model of responsiveness and flexibility.
Right.
Right. Teachable
Within
moments.
within setting up the conditions in which students can learn, as Einstein always said,
Right.
that he never teaches his students, he only attempts to create the conditions in which they can learn.
Yep.
So, but I could, because I'm the teacher, I still am responsible for the post of their activity, right? The purpose, outcome, strategy, time. I'm not going to let it go too far in my own brain about like what the outcome
Right.
is.
I was just going to
However,
get to that. Good.
The outcome should be different. Could be different
Could be.
for all of those different
could be
groups.
multi-tiered as well. See, because again, differentiating the process, or sorry, the product of even just an activity,
Yeah.
so that you're kind of tailoring the instruction to each, either a small group's path or an individual student path, and that would be maybe they would still have the choice, but that choice, one of the choices would be more accessible
Sure.
for students along the way.
Or, not or, yes and. As the planner, am making all of these decisions in my own rigorous planning process,
Right.
I have now created those choice options.
Right.
I'm going to offer the same choices to each class
100%.
and know that I've included things that will cover each of my students, even based on learning style.
Right.
You know,
Speaking of Einstein, he also said everything should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. So what? Yeah, everything should
where have
be
you been
made.
keeping that? I've never heard that in
I
my
have
life.
a lot of things up my sleeve that
Jeez.
I'm holding out.
All right.
Um,
All right.
So yeah, again, make things as simple as possible, but no simpler. So when I heard you talk about, well, Einstein, but also you talked about having choice. You know, one of the really important pieces is to create some consistency around that choice, but don't fall into a trap of not growing ourselves enough to consider alternate or other choices or adding that. Does that make sense?
No, what do you mean?
So like when I everything for me, my teaching career, my life really revolves around consistent structures. You know, we do so many things and we're involved in so much stuff that when we
story.
get to podcast time, there was a specific structure in my brain, even though I super love the fact that we don't even know what topic we're going to speak about until we are told what topic we're going to speak about.
Yeah, but I can attest to this right down to like, this goes in this pocket,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
goes in
yeah.
this
Oh,
bag,
yeah.
this goes
100%.
here, because if you don't be consistent,
Oof.
you're done.
You're going in circles, right? So what I've learned is that content, knowledge, deep understanding of what my outcomes are supposed to be has allowed me to be, one, actually more flexible,
Right.
more creative,
Yes.
more thoughtful, right? So once I'm super clear, this is what is the goal. Now I can find bunches of different pathways myself to try to accomplish that goal, right? And I know we're kind of beating that to death, but that's the point. I want to bring it back.
Well,
And
bring it back to Iron
yeah,
Chef.
that's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, we'll say it then.
Want to say it at the same time?
No.
Because that's what happens in your brain, and that is the teacher lifestyle and mind shift.
Yes.
You are finding multiple solution and opinion options in everyday life.
Yup.
And you're always in that mindset, and you're always looking for those things.
And
that
how-
adds another layer of relevance.
That's how relevance. Oh, very nice.
That's not a clap.
Alderman.
Slow-mo.
All right. So the other piece of this puzzle here that I want to try to put a little bow on is the idea of getting too structured and too stuck on your ideas.
As a teacher, as a planner?
Yeah. So now I'm planning. I'm doing my due diligence of understanding, my outcome, my expected outcome, the real purpose behind this activity. And here's some choice of product that you can have, let's say, and then carrying those choices forward. I think that's a very important thing, consistency. However, be aware and attentive to other curves in your road. Instead of, because I deal with, I taught down in a very transient area. And a lot of times some cultural differences would show up mid-year, like we'd get some South American students whose school ended in January because that was their summer. They would move to the States and they were in the middle of a school year and they would get enrolled in school because they have to.
Worst.
And right. Well, sorry, kid. However, I oftentimes, of course, my first reaction was kind of like, wow, we got to almost start all over. And then it was like light bulb. Bing. I should be always thinking about being ready to start all over.
Yeah.
So now what do the structures look like to an outsider coming in out of nowhere? Do I really have the rapport with the kids and I have their attention and they understand the flow of my classroom like I think they do? Or have I just tolerated certain things and to a point where it's like, we got to reel it back in? And so I would do those little self-assessments.
I was just going to ask, how do you check that?
I checked it with the kids.
Yeah, how?
So I would say, hey, guys, we just had Waterman come into class for the first day today. And it made me think about our first day packet. And when we talked about the structure and the rules and have we followed all these to the letter of the law? And then be like, no, and I'm like, all right, calm down. We weren't that bad. But where can we rein it in? Where should we continue to leave some things out?
That's a great
and we do that. And I don't know what made me think of doing that because no one told me to. I just know that personally, I'm always kind of self-reflecting, and we talked a lot about that over the last few casts. I call them casts.
Huh?
Yeah. And so during those times, I just became very self-reflective, and because I would hand them, out of a lack of understanding of what else to do, I would hand them a kind of a first day packet. This is what we do here.
Right.
And then I would be looking at it and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is not what we do here anymore. Right. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't like it was even a bad path, but we started from structure. We found areas of ways to kind of share the space. You've mentioned shared space teaching a few times. And I don't know if every view is up on that concept, but it was our methodology that says we're sharing learning environments with students and in front of students. And that's a piece of it. Yeah. Right. And so now those choices
environments
have
and
to
experiences,
change.
sharing learning experiences too.
Because one of the areas that you did not mention in your example, and your example was fantastic, but was like language barriers, language learning. So now if I have that same third period class or the smelly class or whatever class, and now we add to it.
Smelly class.
Golly, as soon as I said it, I knew it was coming. As if we add another element to that environment that's different. Number one, check your frustration, okay? Because it's going to happen. Many times I hear my own voice say, can you believe this? I just got 3 new students in. It's February. What are we doing? Right? Okay, get it out, say it, and then check it. Then 2, go back to making the processes simple, but not simpler, and saying as simple as possible, right? Here is the structure. And then 3, what do I have to add to my structure so that I can make sure it's inclusive to all the new changes and what's happening? And so I really think that's my take
to this, to wrap it back up to Iron Chef.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what you're saying about reflection, is to be aware. Here's the challenge, the call to action, is to be aware of those moments in your everyday life where all of this applies. Have your eyes open, in a low stakes way, right? You see an interaction in a restaurant, you can think about how you would use that in your class or whatever, or how you would handle an interaction, whatever it is. But practical examples, relevant, making things relevant, choices, differentiation, mind blown, Einstein, Iron Chef,
teacher, America. That's what it was.
Hey everybody, this is the unseen but ever-present Waterman. Thank you for listening to Dumplings Over Flowers. Our current plan is to have new episodes every other week, so be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube or follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube or on social by searching Dumplings Over Flowers or @DumplingsPod. That's @DumplingsPod. Also, don't be afraid to leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Your comments, questions, or stories may very well inspire the conversation in our next episode. If you would like to know more about our cloud-based lesson planning platform, you can visit mosaicip.com. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.